democracy beat Trump's coup in Bolivia. Can it happen here too? Check it out. Like, comment, and subscribe, and be sure to share with your friends and family.
With you, and on the line with us is our old buddy Mark Weisbrot. He is the big cheese over at the Center for Economic and Policy Research, the co-director. He's also the president of Just Foreign Policy, the author of several books. His most recent, Failed: What the Experts Got Wrong About the Global Economy. CEPR.net is their website. And Mark, welcome back. Bolivia. Evo Morales is out, but progressive policies may be back in. First of all, for people who are not, who don't follow the situation in South America and Bolivia, the country of Bolivia and the continent of South America. For people who aren't following that, give us a real quick thumbnail backgrounder and then bring us up to date.
Sure. Well, Evo Morales was the first indigenous president of Bolivia, and it's the most indigenous by percent of population country in the hemisphere. It's somewhere near a majority, and of the population is indigenous. And he was elected in 2005 and took office in January 2006. And he was there for all the way till the end of 2019. In November of 2019, he was overthrown in a coup where the military told him to step down, to resign. And I have to emphasize that because it's, you see there's reports in the media and they don't even, most of them don't even refer to it as a coup. Some of them do. And it was a coup that was backed by the Trump administration. And it was also engineered to a large part in at least the foundations of it. Were made by the Organization of American States, which sent an electoral observer mission to the country, which is supposed to observe the election that they had on October 20th. But instead, they lied about it and promoted this idea that it was stolen, and that became the political foundation for the coup. And then there was a de facto repressive government for the past 11 months, but after there were big protests in the streets that shut down highways and everything, the de facto government was forced to actually have an election on Sunday. And there, the finance minister, or the economy minister of Evo Morales, his name is Luis Arce, ran for president, and he won in the election on Sunday. So that's a huge thing. It was a little unexpected because the polls showed that he was in the lead, that he wouldn't get enough to win the first round, but he did win in the first round. But he clearly did at this point, although the votes are still being counted. There's quick counts that show that he won by a large margin, probably over 20 percentage points. And Whoa. So this is a major turnaround of a U.S.-backed coup against a left government. And that has a lot of significance for the whole hemisphere, which we can talk about if you want.
Yeah, as both an economist and a fairly astute political observer, particularly of this region, Mark Weisbrot, what does this say to you about, well, first of all, U.S. foreign policy? Why is it that we keep overthrowing leftist governments that are not, embracing Castro-style communism? Although even Castro, or it's no longer the Castro government, but I mean, even the current government of Cuba is no longer embracing Castro-style. They're allowing free enterprise on the island. But why do we keep doing that? And what, I mean, who are the interest groups behind this? Why would the United States interfere in the affairs of a foreign country to prevent them from having, my sense of it was that, Morales was just basically building out a Denmark-style government, not a Cuba-style government. Or do I have that wrong?
No, it was a social, and will continue to be, hopefully. There's no reason to think that ours would do differently. It's the same party.
But it's like democratic socialism, right?
The movement for socialism, yeah. It's a social democratic system where it's a mixed economy, like almost every economy in the world is a mixture of state and market. And so, yes, I mean, it isn't that, there's nothing radical or even, threatening in any other way, as you could imagine, a country of, 11.5 million people in South America that's, a lower middle-income country posing a threat to the United States. I mean, none of the excuses that you see, you don't even make excuses, they just deny it. But, I mean, the U.S. has intervened, the U.S. government has intervened in almost all of the countries, the left governments that were elected in the 21st century. Argentina, Bolivia, Brazil, Haiti, Honduras, Nicaragua, Paraguay, and of course Venezuela more than anywhere.
Chile.
And
was that the Monroe Doctrine, that if it happens in this hemisphere, it's our affair?
Well, I mean, I think that you do have a consensus in the so-called national security state, or what Ben Rhodes called the civil society equivalent of it. Ben Rhodes was Obama's advisor, and he called it the blob. And the consensus in the blob, which includes most of the media and the big think tanks, which most of them get U.S. government funding, and anyway, the consensus is that this belongs to the United States. They don't even really think about it that much. They don't think.
So what are the implications? You forgive me for moving along here, Mark, but we just have 2 minutes until we're going to hit a break that I can't control. You mentioned the implications of Bolivia flipping essentially back to a democratic socialist or social democratic government. What does that mean for the rest of South America?
Well, I think it's very important because, it could be tremendously important because in the 21st century, you had for the first time the majority of the population of Latin America was governed by left of center governments, social democratic governments like this one to varying degrees. I mean, some, did more in terms of, they all had different sets of reforms, public investment. They, for example, in Bolivia, they drastically increased public investment. They invested more. These governments invested more in health care. The ones I mentioned just now in terms of where the U.S. intervened, they invested more in education. And they did the things that you would expect social democratic middle-income countries to do, but it varied by country because they had different needs. And they had, different capacities. And so, and then they were, some are at a more industrial stage of development. For example, Argentina was more developed than most of the others in terms of manufacturing. But the point is that they all were a reflection of what the voters really wanted after a long-term, terrible, almost unprecedented economic failure from 1980 to 2000. It sounds
you finish your thought.
Your break is coming up.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yep. So that's what they did, and the United States government strategy under both the Bush and Obama administrations, and more violently under Trump, was to get rid of all of them as much as they could.